What is a banner? A banner is merely wood and cloth and art. It is only a symbol. But there's a miracle in symbols. A flag can speak without words. It is raised up high, and so it can be heard that it stands for something. And the people can tell you. They might stand for the very same thing. They can hear its voice. People salute a flag in formation or fly it on their porches because the ideals it represents are bound up in their identity. By these actions, they say, when you look at me or when you come to my house, see this. I belong to this. I will stand for this. But for that, it must represent something. If I asked you what your banner is, what would you say? In what or whom is your identity bound? I have given some thought to what C.S. Lewis might have said. I believe he might have said, for Aslan, like his characters did. Or perhaps he might have said, for Narnia. King and country. A different kind of king and a different country. The king of C.S. Lewis' heart is a unique type of king. Jesus or Aslan is no aloof master. To Lewis, for Aslan was not some far-off ideal to relate to, but a person somehow closer than a friend. C.S. Lewis championed a particular virtue which helps us understand his relationship with God. He believed that unashamed childlikeness was the proper way to identify with his Father in heaven. A way he held his banner like a son for his dad, a son's pride for his father. He was not afraid to be his dad's son. Lewis once said, when I became a man, I put away childish things, including the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up. In another place, he wrote, Christ wants a child's heart, but a grown-up's head. He wants us to be simple, single-minded, affectionate, and teachable as good children are. This childlikeness is what C.S. Lewis knew Christ desired of him, and this is why he made the most faithful and trusting of the Pevensey siblings in the Chronicles of Narnia, Lucy, the youngest. And the image still sticks with me of her burying her face in Aslan's mane. It reminds me of Mary sitting at Jesus' feet like it was story time and being told that she had chosen the good portion. We are far too easily pleased with slaving away in the kitchen of intellectualism. There's nothing wrong with intellectualism. We're talking about C.S. Lewis. But what I want for you to feel about this is that he wrote of Lucy from experience, not intellectual abstraction. It was always his aim to be Lucy in a way. Picture then that middle-aged man alone in his room, kneeling on the floor by his bed, seeking and finding his God, loving his God, finding warmth in his God. A child in that man wrapping his arms around a lion's mane. If that makes us uncomfortable, there might be something wrong with us. Lewis talked of childlikeness as though it was what the virtue of humility really looked like. To rewind and abandon that pride of self learned when the child first started being embarrassed of its parents, like some become embarrassed of their God. Jack held his banner like a son who boasts in his dad. He said with his stories, my dad is like a lion, and he didn't care what all those intellectuals at Oxford thought. And who could get that stubborn man to lower that banner? No, but by that banner, he made a world where others would visit. He made a place where maybe they could meet Aslan too, that they might know him better in their own common country. But you might say to me, it's just a story. It's not a home. And I might say to you, you must not think flags represent something real either. They are only wood and cloth and art after all. And what could make a place he had never been yet his true country? Well, would it have been enough for him to have said Great Britain? He had been there, certainly. He was born there. He lived his whole life there. And C.S. Lewis, as a young man, he fought under that banner in World War I. He saw the horrors of trench warfare in the Somme Valley in France, and he faced them under the banner of Great Britain. But it's not enough to say that Great Britain was his banner. And why? Because while being in Great Britain, he spoke long and often of his longing for that true country, which in light of he could not have even considered Britain as his banner. We too may occupy and pledge allegiance now to this tent we call America. It may even be right to. But in light of that house not made with human hands, that eternal dwelling place, this tent cannot be the true banner of our souls. History shows this tent will probably not exist in 1,000 years. The flags of this world are far, far too finite to have our ultimate undying allegiance. All allegiances will die that are not to infinity, or they will be found in him, our Christ. But what of Narnia, our New Jerusalem, that far-off place, or maybe not so far? The door to Narnia could open, waiting for a train, or hiding in a wardrobe, or in the field where one man is taken and the other is left. Sometimes we get to visit before that last time, but it is a place we could be swept off to at any time. My last door to Narnia could open before I am done with this. No one is sure. This thing is sure, however, that door will open. Death is a doorway for God's children. Most of the world believes that door is a lie, that it is a fantasy for children, fittingly enough. That door instead seems to them to be a wall. So what is the meaning of the banner of Narnia in this world? Is hope. Is hope that that door will open by the chivalry of Christ, and that place where our treasure and heart is will open full and true, and we shall see him. Is a hope that another does not have. And I pray with the author of Hebrews that you may have a full assurance of that hope, full, that you may not be ashamed or doubtful of the banner you carry, but that you may have the audacity to wave a banner of a world you have not yet seen, with the assurance that its meaning is joyously true, that the victory is had, like C.S. Lewis did. He waved the banner of his true home with vigor. One cannot hear what he has to say without hearing how he was certain he was made for another world. In quotes and in books like The Great Divorce or Till We Have Faces, he was obsessed with his home country where his king would be waiting for him. He couldn't help but bring stories through or land them where he felt they always belonged. On the last page of The Last Battle, a character got to feel the jubilation that C.S. Lewis had always longed for, saying, "I've come home at last. This is my real country. I belong here. This is the land I have been looking for all my life, though I never knew it until now." A place where Aslan said, "The dream has ended. This is the morning." C.S. Lewis longed loudly for that day. And imagine it now, how he walks with Aslan in truth, with king and in country whose flag he flew. His kingdom come, his will be done, until it does. Long live the king. Long live our living hope. Thank you.